Last year, Farmers Weekly launched its Stamp Out Lameness campaign to help the sheep industry reduce lameness in the national flock to 5% or less by 2016. In this film, Head of Veterinary Programs at FAI Farms, Ruth Clements, talks us through the 5-point plan to stamping out lameness in sheep.
So the first point of the plan is culling, and what we're talking about here are those repeat offending ewes. Also ewes with chronic feet, chronically damaged feet who've had repeated infections. These ewes are the ones who are spreading disease to the flock, but also creating problems in your lamb flock with scald and so on and so forth. So the first point is culling those ewes out, and the aim there, the outcome, is to build resilience in the rest of the flock. So you're taking out those ewes who can't deal with the challenge of infection, and you're left with a flock that's more able to deal with the diseases. Actually, this is an ideal time of year to look at culling. Lambs are just coming up to weaning time. The aim here is to look at repeat offenders, so any animals that have been repeatedly treated for foot rot, scald. But also to look for these chronic feet, these misshapen feet, and with the knowledge that these girls are the ones that are causing you a lot of your problems. So these are the carriers of the disease, these are the ones that are spreading disease to lambs, so it's really making that commitment to cull them out. And just to give you an example, at FAI in the first year of this programme, we culled out an additional 40 ewes, about 1,000, so around 4%, but the following year we only had to cull 2 individual animals, so it's really a commitment in the first year. Points 2, 3 and 4 of the plan are all about reducing disease challenge, and this is really discussing how you affect the spread of disease in the flock. So it's acknowledging that the 3 main causes of lameness in sheep, that's foot rot, scald and CODD, are all infectious diseases spread sheep to sheep. So the first point, number 2, is about quarantining incoming animals. So that's how do you reduce the risk of transmission of new strains of bacteria or different diseases in incoming sheep. The ideal things to do are firstly to look at their feet, so it would be ideal if you could tip each sheep, look at their feet, look for early lesions, particularly if you don't have CODD in the flock. It's important to look for those early lesions, then you can treat them. The third point here is about rapid treatment of clinical cases, and again it's about acknowledging that these are infectious diseases. For every day that a lame sheep is in the field or on the farm, she's spreading disease to other sheep. The first thing to do is to be able to spot lame sheep and to be honest with yourself about who's lame and who isn't. So that means picking up all animals that are lame, not just the ones that are severely affected. Once you've identified who are your lame sheep, is then committing to treating them as quickly as possible. The fourth point here is about avoiding the spread of disease at handling and gathering. So it's looking at all the elements, the 100 different elements on each farm, and saying, okay, where are the weak spots? So it's things like the underfloor surface in gathering areas, how wet and soiled it becomes. It's bare areas around water troughs, mineral buckets and feed troughs. What can you do to mitigate those risks in those areas? So it might be some simple things like using wood chip or improving the hard standing around water troughs. You can use lime in handling areas to reduce the amount of bacterial spread. The fifth point of the plan, the final point, is all about establishing immunity, and the action there is vaccination, and we're suggesting a biannual vaccination regime to correlate with high risk times on your farm. A popular option is to vaccinate just before housing time. That's a high risk time with increased stocking density, and also perhaps off the shears just before that summer peak in lameness occurs. So altogether what you're aiming to do is build a more resilient flock. You're reducing the disease challenge and you're giving some immunity to your flock. So you've got 2 positives and 1 negative. You're trying to build on the positives and reduce the negative.